Hey everybody, and welcome to your training in the basics of DotLoop by Russ Brad Chulis. So the first thing you'll want to do is sign into your MyKW, and we'll show you how to get to DotLoop the fastest way. You want to, once you get to your e-edge, you'll click the plus next to My Transactions and hit Transaction Home. That will take you to DotLoop. It's the fastest way to get there, and it should look like this. I have a couple of loops already set up. Now, the first thing we will do is set up some templates. Templates are basically pre-selected groups of documents that you use on a regular basis. And before we even start our loops, we're going to create a couple of templates. The first thing that we'll do on the template creation process is to make a folder. So let's say we have a typical kind of listing transactions and typical kind of buyer transactions, and the same documents are used over and over for listing and over for buying. So why don't we call this test buying docs, and we're going to create this folder. So now we're going to be adding documents to that folder, and you'll notice down here on the left hand side we've got Keller Williams and Cambridge Somerville forms. We all have this here, so we'll click there and it brings up all of the forms here. Now, it's a real pain in the butt to try to pick each one out of here, and it gives me a headache even looking at it. So I use the search window over here. So when we're talking about buying docs, we need things like, an offer. So we'll type in an offer, and then I'll select these two here because I know I need the offer to purchase and the contingency addendum. Now I'm going to copy to, and it's asking me where do you want to put it? Well, I want to put it in my templates. So we'll hit templates, and I've already created a folder. It's right here for test buying docs, and we hit copy. Now what else do I need? I know I'm going to need the mandatory disclosure. Now here, if you hover over it, it does say buying. The first one says listing. This is buying docs. So we're selecting that, copy to our templates and our test buying docs folder. Copy. And then we usually need the facts for consumers here. So we'll select that, and again the same thing, copy to templates, test buying docs, and we're done. And we can verify everything here by going to test buying docs and seeing that we've got all four of them there. And if we want to, we can replace them here, reorder them however we see fit. And maybe you want to start with a license and disclosure. So there is our test buying docs folder. Now let's make one for listings. Add folder, test listing docs, and create it. Now we'll go back to Keller Williams Cambridge Somerville forms, and here we'll do the same thing. We know that we'll need our mandatory form, this time for listing. We'll select it, copy to templates, and now we'll go with test listing docs and hit copy. What else might we need? We might need a non-MLS agreement in case we're going to be pushing it down the road a bit. And we'll say templates, test listing docs, and copy. And then we'll need an exclusive right to sell, not commercial property. Exclusive right to sell with consent to designated agency. There it is. Copy to templates and test listing docs. And then lastly, we need that lead thing. So the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. Leave it to Massachusetts to make something that, or I guess it's the federal government. Either way, it's longer than it needs to be. Type in lead. There it goes. Copy to templates, test listing docs, and copy. So now you're all set, as we like to say here in New England, for all of the listing docs that you'll need. Maybe we'll reorder these a little bit. We'll put that there first, and then the exclusive, and then the non-MLS, and then there's the lead thing. Great, so now we've got our template set up. Let's start a loop. So click on the smiley. That takes you to your loops, and you're going to click on this big red plus sign here. You get the chance to name a loop. Why don't we make this a buying loop? So test buying loop, create. Alright, so now we've got our loop set up. We don't have anybody added to it yet, and we don't have any documents in it. Let's do documents first. So right here you can select from the templates you just created from your test buying docs. So you're selecting the folder on the left hand side, and you can select the individual documents there all at once by hitting select all, and then add documents pops them right in there. So now you have set up the loop, you've put the documents in it. Let's add the contacts. So down here we're going to add a person. By the way, you are already added in here every single time. Now you might as well put yourself here as the buying agent. And then the admin for Keller Williams, this is so that Catherine can go ahead and take a look at everything that we're going to be doing. So you'll always have this person here. You'll never really assign them to anything, but you'll always have them there. Let's add the buyer. So this is test person is our buyer for today, and I will assign that person the role of the buyer and hit add person. Now you can add as many people in here as you want, the buyer's attorney, the mortgage person, the other buyer, whatever. So go wild and add as many people as you want, but for this video it's just that simple buyer. So now we've added the contact. So let's actually start the document. So we'll click on the document name, and now it already pops this up. So it's saying, hey, who are these people? So the person who is on the sheet as buyer 1, who is that person? That's this character, test person here. There is no buyer 2 in this case. Otherwise you would have added them in the beginning and you could have selected them here. And then I'm the buyer's agent. Great. So let's assign all of those fields. And so let's skip all of the actual content of the document. So that says that this signature right here is for the real estate agent. That's going to be for me. This is going to be for test person, and this would be for the other buyer. So right now, if I wanted to sign my document, I just hover over there and it says can be signed by buying agent Russ Brad Chulis. And then you hit sign now. There you go. If you feel like drawing it, knock yourself out. Otherwise, just hit confirm and sign. And it's done. And then here, we've got 2 fields that are active. Each one says that they can be signed by the buyer. So this could make your buyer a little bit confused when they're expecting to sign in one place, and now they have to sign in 2. So let's take this second one. We'll select it here, and then up at the top left, this drop-down menu where it says it's already assigned to test person, make it assigned to no one. That will make sure that no one can sign there. So your buyer only has one place to go on this document. And then we'll hit save. And now I want you to go back to the loop. We are not going to share it right now. We have 4 documents to prepare. If we share it right now, it shares that document and every other document in individual emails. So our buyer is going to be getting 4 emails when they really could just get 1. That's why we don't share it right away. So again, let's do the offer to purchase. So we've got our buyer here, our buyer 2. If you had entered the seller's information, you'd have them there. We're assigning it. Again, you fill out all this information as you normally would. We're just focusing on the signatures here. So again, 2 spots for the buyer to sign. That one's assigned to test person. This one is also. Let's cancel that. So there's only one place for them to sign. So we hit no one. And now only the test person can sign in one spot. Here again, you'd do the same thing if there's just one seller. Select it, come over here and put no one. Now it is grayed out. We're done filling out all the information for this video. We're hitting save, back to loop, and no. So let's say we went on and on and on and we filled out everything else. Now we're ready to send it. This will be one email. Your buyer will receive an email that's saying there's 4 docs for you to sign. Awesome. So select everything here and hit share. Now here you want to make sure that usually the default settings are right. So this is saying that the test person can view them. It also means, if you look at the sidebar there, that they will be able to sign them. If you need them to fill something out, you select this. If you need them to modify it, you can select that. But 9 times out of 10, Can View is just what you need to do. So hit share, and it's on its way through cyberspace. It's letting you know it's waiting on others, and you're done. So now you've done a buying loop. Let's do a listing loop. Go back to our loops here with the smiley face and the big red plus. Test listing loop. Create loop. So again, we're going to select from the templates that you so adroitly already created. Test listing docs. Select all, because we know they're already good to go. And add documents. Boom, they're done. Now let's add the person. So this is going to be test person. You just start typing the first couple letters of their name, and the contacts that match that configuration of letters will pop up. So here's test person. And then that person's role is seller in this case. Add. We've got the docs. We've got the contact. Now we need to start the forms. So here, seller 1 is test person. And here are your options basically for seller 2, but since there aren't any, we're just going to leave it as select person. And then I will be the listing agent. Assign. So again, this preps your whole document and all of the signature fields to know who's supposed to sign them. So the listing agent signs here, hover over it, sign now, and it brings up this beautiful signature, confirm and sign, thank you. And then 2 spots for the seller in this case. Gray out the second one if there's only one seller. That way there's no confusion for your client when they get into this newfangled system. Save. Back to loop. No, we're not sharing it now. Let's go into the exclusive right to sell. Here is where the assigning fields to no one will be very helpful. So seller is our test person, list agent is me, that's cool. Assign. And so all of this stuff you can select out here. This is the first roadblock that you're going to come across. You know, we don't really do sub-agency all that often. So we will assign these to, you guessed it, no one. That way your seller doesn't even get confused about an extra space where they are or are not supposed to sign. Same thing here. If you've got 2 sellers, you're going to do seller 1 and seller 2. I only have 1. So I'm going to assign the second one to no one. As we go down further, here's where it becomes really important. I've already talked to my seller, and he wants me to be able to disclose whatever information I want to at my own discretion. So I will make it very easy for this seller to not fill out the remaining 5 options. So I'm just doing the same thing, assigning each of these to no one except for that bottom one. And to double check, if we hover over these, it doesn't even show anything. And if we click it, verifying up here, it says to no one, except for this one down here. This one is for test person. So that's the spot where it's really going to be helpful. Any other additional terms and other stuff here, here's where you sign, hover over it, it pops up sign now, you click that bad boy and select your beautiful signature, confirm and sign. And again, 2 spots for a seller, we only have 1, so we're going to assign it to no one. And we'll save, back to the loop. We are not sharing it right now. Fast forward in time with me a little bit and pretend that we've gone through all of these other documents. And now we're going to share it all at once so our seller thinks, this person's on the ball. I only got 1 email and I could sign everything. And we're going to leave that as can view because we've already discussed that 9 times out of 10 that's exactly what you need. And hit share. They're saying it's on its way. Done. Now you go have a cup of coffee because you're done with filling out your listing docs. So, one last thing two last things here. So now you have a signed lead doc once your seller goes back in there. How do you get it into MLS? Well, you come over here. Here's your lead doc with the big title. And you come down here to download. So now that pops it over here, and your computer may look a little bit different. I'm on a beautiful Mac, but you might be on an aged PC or something like that. So save it if you know how to get just to the signature page. That's really all you're concerned about. Save that somewhere on your computer and then upload it to your listing in MLS. And the last thing I'll show you is how to archive a loop. So we're done with our test. I'm never going to need this test loop again. So over here, status, since we never delete loops, we only archive them. You just go up here, click archived. It doesn't show anything really different on this screen except the status. But when you go back to your loops, it's gone. So let's do the same thing with our test buying loop because we're done. We'll make it archived, and we go back to our loops to verify, and that's it. So guys, that's your training video. If you have any other questions, feel free to email me. Emails are much better than phone calls, by the way, at russb@kw.com. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Cheers.